What's up, everybody? It's me, Deqwan Young, and I'm on hosting duties now. You are here, tuned in live to Hitting with Benny with myself and the man of the hour, or the half hour, Benny Ricciardi. Benny, what's going on, man? It's Thursday. Tomorrow, when this airs, it'll be Friday, and you're getting ready for week 2 of football. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, week 2 is actually going on right now in the background again, which is going to be a theme for our Thursday show here. Is Quan and I looking over our shoulders when, especially with these two guys out here, two of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league playing right now, in Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. This game did not turn out to start the way that I think everybody thought it would, but I don't know. We're up to like 30-something points right now. It's a 3-point game. It's getting a little bit close here, so should be a fun end of the evening here, Quan.
There wasn't a lot of line movement either. I wanted to take the over. I think it was at 52.5 when it opened, and it went up a little bit. I think it closed at 54, and it just seemed so iffy to me. But Brandon Staley, I think he has the formula. Like they were talking about it earlier, like how they last year they sat back and covered two-man, made the Chiefs be patient to take away the big plays. And I think Brandon Staley was a lot more aggressive, and it looks like it's working so far. As you just said, Mahomes, he just flicked 150 yards down the field.
Yeah, so it worked up until this point. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they can. This is what happens, though, right? You go in at halftime, you make some adjustments, you see what happens in the second half, and then you go on from there. But Quan, you know what, man? I don't know if everybody wants to hear us talk about the past because this show's on Friday right now. This game's going to be over by that time. Let's talk about Sunday a little bit here. We got some nice plays for this weekend.
Well, you do have some nice plays, and on our Friday show, the format is a little bit different. You actually get to see our beautiful faces, but today you're coming with your picks and props. And up first, we have your yardage. Now, as far as players and what props you're taking for either an over under on their totals of yardage.
Yeah, so before we even get into the three guys I'm playing, one of the things that I want to kind of let everybody know out there is, when you're looking at these props, I think one of the hardest things for the books to do is to get the guys at the very high end and the very low end, right? So the guys at the low end, meaning like, the guy who may catch a pass for 10 yards or something like that, those are very tough for the books to kind of figure out who those guys are going to be. So if you ever have an inkling that there's a guy who normally doesn't get a lot of action that's going to be getting a lot of action today, especially if it's like a last-second injury or something like that, those are always props that I think there's value on. And then the other thing that's hard for the books to do is to do things on the high end, right? Because, they don't like putting out props over there of 100 yards or so. But we have three guys here today that I think can get over 100 yards in the games that they're going to be playing. So the first one we're going to start with here is going to be Devonte Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders. So last week, this guy, 17 targets he had. He led the NFL in week 1 with 17 targets in the first game. That was a 45% target share for all the passes that the Raiders threw. Now, do I think he's going to get that same massive number of targets this game? Probably not, but we don't need him to get 17 targets. The guy averaged 14 yards per catch last week. If he gets us to, I think 7.5 or 8 is the number for him on the catches for the prop. If he gets to 7 or 8 catches at, anywhere near 14 yards, he's going to be over 100 yards anyway. So this number actually opened in the high 80s. I think it was about 86 or 87 when it opened. It's up to 91. I wouldn't doubt if it climbs even further to 93 or 94 because, again, he plays an Arizona team that the Kansas City Chiefs just tore up last week for 360 yards passing. So when you look at the volume that this guy's going to get, you look at the matchup that this guy has, I really like Devonte Adams to go over 91.5 receiving yards. To go over there, I think he is minus 115. So that's the number there on Devonte Adams. That's my first play of the week. And the second one is going to be a very similar play. That's going to be Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is an absolute stud, and I don't think people even realize the numbers that this guy's putting up. The last 12 games that they played last year, he had at least 95 yards receiving in every one of the last 12 regular season games that they played. He had 100 and something in the first game that they played this year. He played 4 games in the postseason last year, scored a touchdown in every one of those 4 games. I think he had 6 total touchdowns last year, averaged, somewhere over 120 yards receiving, I think, through the postseason. This guy is an absolute stud. Putting him under 100 yards is almost an insult to how good Cooper Kupp really is here. Yes, they have a big total here. Yes, there is, I think, like a 9 or 10 point spread is what it's sitting on. I think it was even bigger earlier in the week at like 11 or 12. But I still think Cooper Kupp is going to be so involved in the offense here for the Los Angeles Rams, like he is every week here. So I also like Cooper Kupp to go over 92.5 yards. But then the third one that I'm going to throw out there for you, Saquon Barkley, who looked like he has come back. Everybody is wondering whether he was going to be good to go. A lot of people were talking about him as somebody that people were sleeping on in the preseason. He had a monster week one, just an absolute beast of a game against Tennessee. He goes up against a much weaker defense this week in the Carolina Panthers. 18 carries, 164 yards, another 6 catches for 30 yards on 7 targets. Not only is Saquon Barkley back, but the Giants realize that this is the guy who they are going to have to ride like a horse if they're going to wind up winning any of these games. And I think in a game where they should actually kind of project to maybe have a lead here, as opposed to last week when, they were playing from behind and had to make that furious comeback here. I think that this is a really, really good spot for Saquon, and I think he could go over 100 yards again this week. The number is only 74.5, which I just felt was way too low. So I really like Saquon Barkley over 74.5 rushing yards. The first two, obviously, receiving props with Devonte Adams and Cooper Kupp. This last one here with Saquon Barkley is going to be a rushing prop. We went 2 for 3 last week. Should have been 3 for 3, but Elijah Mitchell got hurt. 6 carries for 41 yards. He went down like 15 yards short of cashing that for us, Quan. Otherwise, we would have swept the yardage props last week. But I'm happy walking away with a profit, 2 of 3. If we can get 2 of 3 every week this season and make everybody a little bit of money, I'll be pretty happy with that. So what do you think about those 3?
Listen, man, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I like the Devonte Adams play a lot. I think you broke it down quite nicely. Like, you don't want to reach for those 100-yard games and those 120-yard games because all 3 of those athletes are capable of doing that when they are in flow and have a good game. But I think the Cooper Kupp play is going to be really good. It's a terrible Atlanta Falcons team, and the Rams are going to be on the bounce back. I think this is a bounce back game for them after they got smoked against the Bills. So Stafford's probably going to go to his main guy. It's the guy he trusts. He hasn't built anything with Allen Robinson yet. And Derek Carr, what did you say, a 49% share?
Yeah, 45%, 45, over 45 is like 46 almost percent target share, which is crazy. That's a crazy number.
Beyond crazy. Listen, man, if I'm getting almost half the balls, I have to produce. And I think Devonte Adams, best receiver, one receivers league, you're gonna kind of lean on him when you're looking for a win against the lowly Arizona Cardinals team.
Hey, I'll go with the shower / breakfast narratives all day long. So
yeah,
Devonte Adams and Carr, they know each other from college, and then Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. We learned last year that you don't mess with the breakfast narrative. If you hear that a quarterback and somebody are going to breakfast and watching tape every day, you make sure you get that guy in your lineup as often as possible.
Gotta love the Breakfast Club. All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break here on Betting with Benny, brought to you by FTN Bets. If you're on the Game Plus Network, thanks for watching. I'm back in a few. Welcome back to Betting with Benny. I am Deqwan Young here with Benny Ricciardi. We just went through our yardage props for today's Week 2 slate, and we're looking at some good plays. Now we're gonna move on to anytime touchdowns. Basically, it's it explains itself. Anytime anybody scores a touchdown, win that. Benny, we're looking at your plays. You got 3 plays coming up here. A couple that I really like. You want to look at the first one and let us know what you were thinking with this bet.
Yeah, so the first one here is going to be Chase Edmonds. And here's the deal. When I'm looking at these anytime touchdowns, right, like I don't want to go super chalky here, right? Like we're not taking Jonathan Taylor to score a touchdown at minus 175 this week or something like that. Like, over the long run, you're not going to make money that way. You got to be looking for things that have a little bit of plus money on it, but also things that you think are very likely to happen. And, really what I'm looking at here is guys in good situations, guys that are getting volume, and guys whose number just seems like they're off. And Chase Edmonds is the first guy who I want to talk about here because the number just seemed like it was off to me, right? So, you look at any other number 1 running back, right? Even a guy who's in kind of a timeshare, because Chase Edmonds is basically in a timeshare, right? We saw him last week, him and Mostert being the 2 guys that were out there. Chase Edmonds, though, was on the field for about 2/3 of the snaps. Mostert was on the field for about 1/3 of the snaps. So already he's the bigger part of the timeshare, which is what we like, right? And then on top of that, when you look at the way that the touches broke down, I think it was Chase had 12 carries. Raheem Mostert had 5 carries. So he's getting more than 2/3 of the carries that were out there. Again, something good, something that we like to see with Chase Edmonds. And then you look at third downs. He was out there on the field for 8 of the 9 third downs that they ran last week. He had 4 targets thrown his way, as opposed to only 1 target that went Raheem Mostert's play. So people were saying that this was going to be kind of a 50-50 backfield split or a hot hand kind of thing. But it really looked like 2/3 of the stuff went to Chase Edmonds. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't really understand. It's like a guy who's getting 2/3 of the carry is the official number 1 back for that team. And normally when we see a number 1 back for a team, all right, they are an underdog, I think, in this game this week, which, again, whether you agree with or not agree with, I think it's going to be a really good game here. But one way or another, if you look at it, he should be probably like plus 130, plus 140. And the reason I say that is because that's normally what you see from a guy who is the number 1 running back on a team that is an underdog in a game. So plus 180 to me just seemed like it was way, way out of there. Like it was just too big of a number. You look at the number on Caesars. I think the number on Caesars was closer to that like 140, 150 range. FanDuel was a little bit higher, maybe 160, 165. But at plus 180, I just think we're getting way too much value on Chase Edmonds to score a touchdown here. He's the clear number 1 back there in Miami. If they get down into the goal line situation, I think he'll be there. And he's the guy that's out there on third down. And, you can always catch a swing pass, break a tackle or two. Maybe they run a little screen and he gets some good blocking. Exactly. So at plus 180, I just think there are too many different ways for Chase Edmonds to wind up in the end zone. Maybe he doesn't. I'm not even saying, again, at plus 180, I'm not even saying that's a 50-50 chance he scores here. But at plus 180, they're saying it's like a 35% chance that he scores here. And I think it's probably a little bit higher. So I think we get good value on this Chase Edmonds plus 180 number over on DraftKings.
I think the opportunity is there. You're looking at Tyreek Hill last. He did a lot for Jalen Waddle's touchdown, like just being on the field, having to point him out, and then Chase Edmonds being on the field, on down, opportunity, whether it's on the ground or in the air. You have that opportunity. What are we looking at next?
Yeah, so the next one we're going to look at is going to be San Francisco 49ers running back Jeff Wilson. So, again, a lot of the things I said last week about Elijah Mitchell are just going to carry over this week to Wilson. Now, I am a little bit worried about Deebo Samuel, as I think a lot of other people should be, because I think Deebo is going to get a decent amount of the carries in this game. But here's the other thing we got to look at here, Quan. The San Francisco 49ers are at home this week. Home running backs do tend to score more touchdowns. Home running backs also tend to put up better numbers. And on top of that, they are an 8.5-point favorite. So this is a game that sets up for the San Francisco 49ers to play really good defense against a team that's probably not going to be able to move the ball against them and just kind of run the ball down their throats and wind up getting a win and going away that way. With one less running back in the stable, they had to call up, I forget his name, Tyrone Davis, whatever it is. It's a 3-hyphenated name or something. But they called him up to be the backup. He's a rookie. They have another rookie who's more of a special teams guy out there. So, again, they're going to need people to run the ball. You look at Elijah Mitchell's stats from last year when they were in these kind of games where they had like a touchdown or 2 lead. He had almost a half dozen games last year. We had 20 or more touches. So if we can get 20-something touches or even close to 20 touches, even 15 touches out of Jeff Wilson here, I think there's a really good chance for him to score a touchdown. And again, starting running backs on a team that is a favorite to win a game are usually below even money, minus 110, minus 120 to score a touchdown. Getting Jeff Wilson at plus 130 here, I just think we're getting too much value. I think people are giving too much respect to the Deebo Samuel touchdown, which, again, I'm not saying Deebo won't score a touchdown. I think he's a good play as well. But I really like Jeff Wilson at plus 130 because I think he definitely has a chance to get at least one in this game with San Francisco being such a big favorite at home.
Davis Price is the name that you were looking for. I think they also picked up. Yeah, I think they also picked up Marlon Mack. So
they did. Yeah.
It's gonna be a by committee thing, if anything. And as we spoke to last week, the number 1 running back is the guy that you really want to trust. And the 49ers, they went into Chicago and it was a nasty game. They didn't get to the game script that they had in, I assume. But you got to look for a bounce back week, and you got to get Trey Lance all the pressure off his shoulders. So I like the Jeff Wilson play. Let's round it out here with your third time touchdown bet.
Yeah, so the third one is going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones, another hyphenated name here. We got the hyphens all over the place here. Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be the third one here, plus 230. And here's the reason why I love this one. Quan, you know that I'm a big Jet fan, right? So my kid and I went to the Atlanta Falcons preseason game with a couple of his buddies, And we noticed that all the passes kept going to the opposite side of the field from Sauce Gardner when he was out there on the field. And you know what the thing is, Quan, that makes me a little bit nervous about the Jets this year? Is that all those passes were completed, and a lot of them were completed for big yards. There was a big play for Kyle Pitts down that sideline. I forget who the backup, the second or third receiver that they had there who made the other play down the sideline. And then last week we went to the Baltimore Ravens and Jets opener, and you saw Devin Duvernay get 2 touchdowns going over there. You saw a long touchdown go to Rashard Bateman as well. The Jets secondary can be beat deep, and that's what Donovan People-Jones does. Now, here's the other thing, though. Donovan People-Jones, last week, this guy had 11 targets. There were only 18 players in football last week in week 1 who saw double-digit targets, and Donovan People-Jones was one of those. So not only is this a guy that has the ability to go down the field and catch a touchdown, but he saw 11 targets last week. Like, this is a guy who's a major part of this offense. Is it a high-scoring, high-throwing, aerial attack? No, of course it's not with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback, but there is still going to be some passes, and somebody is going to have to make some plays. And I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is one of those guys who's going to be making some plays down the field for the Cleveland Browns, which again is the way you want to pick on my New York Jets secondary this year. So I think Donovan Peoples-Jones at plus 230 is a really good value to find himself in the end zone at some point on Sunday.
Really got to like the plus 230. When I tend to look for anytime touchdowns, I'm looking for those plays that are going to pay me big. Do you got any others that you were considering that you want to just throw out there for the people?
Yeah, there's a few other good, like Kareem Hunt in that same game is even money plus 100 for a touchdown. I think he's a really good chance to get a touchdown in that game. I don't want to play a guy like Nick Chubb was like minus 130 or minus 140. Yeah. I don't want to win 60 cents on a dollar. That's not the way that I normally gamble. But if you can get even money on a guy like Kareem Hunt against the Jets in a game where they're a big favorite and they're at home, and, a lot of the same things we said about like Jeff Wilson, I think that's somebody you could look at there too. And like I said, what you're really looking at here is to try to get that plus money. We do not want to be taking guys for anytime touchdowns. I hit the, Travis Kelce anytime touchdown at minus 170. Like, congratulations, you won. But you win $60. Here you go. Congratulations. Like, nobody really cares. So that's the thing. It's like over the long term, that's not the way to make a profit. The way to make a profit is to look for guys that are undervalued, whether that's plus 180 or plus 130 or plus 230, like the ones that we're looking at here. So again, even like Kareem Hunt should be minus 120. So if you get him at even money, he's still undervalued. So at least that one I think is a good bet. So add Kareem Hunt to that list as a fourth player there, and you could put him and People-Jones together on a little same game parlay if you're really trying to juice up your returns.
That'll be a good segue to our next segment. We're going to take another quick commercial break here for the folks at Game Plus Network. We'll be back with the final segment of Betting with Benny right here. Welcome back to Betting with Benny. I'm your host, Deqwan Young, and we are here for what I think people come here for. It's the final segment with one of my favorite segments. But first, we're going to get to our first touchdown score. Once again, it explains itself. The guy who scores the first touchdown will win you some money here. Benny, who do you have on the docket?
Yeah, the last segment of the show here is these are the fun bets, right? Like these are the ones where you can go 5-1, 6-1, something like that. Turn $100 into $500-$600 and go get yourself a new Xbox or a new TV or something. So, these are the ones that people like to hit, and these are the ones that I like to hit for people because when we do, Quan, these are the ones where everybody tweets at us and tells us they love us. Unlike when they lose all the other bets and they tweet at us and tell us they hate us. But hey, you know what? It comes with the job. We take it. It's fun. So here we go. My first touchdown for week 2 is going to be Joe Mixon. And the reason for it is we'll go over the criteria that we talk about every week. We want a team that has a bad offense on the other side, so they're not likely to score. Now, some people are going to be like, the Dallas Cowboys don't have a bad offense. The Dallas Cowboys without Dak Prescott and with Cooper Rush as the quarterback, this is going to be a bad offense. This is not an offense I'm expecting to put up a lot of points, even against a team that I think is scorable on like the Cincinnati Bengals. So that means that there's a higher than average chance that the Cincinnati Bengals on the other side of this game are going to score the first touchdown. And if we're looking for a guy to score the first touchdown here, Joe Mixon, absolute stud last week with the volume. 27 carries. I think he had another 7 catches on 10 targets or so. So that means that they actually did run a ton of plays. I think since he ran about 90 plays last week, but still with Mixon getting 27 carries and, another 7 catches, like this guy was involved in, I don't know, maybe 40% of the plays that they ran last week. So if you're going to give a guy that big an amount of volume, I think there's a really good chance that he's going to get into the end zone. If they get down, if one of those wide receivers makes a play or gets tackled anywhere inside the 5, that's just going to kind of spell out, here you go, Joe Mixon, get yourself into the end zone, because I don't think he did get into the end zone last week. So I'm expecting Mixon to score the first touchdown here against a bad offense on the other side that I think is going to struggle to move the ball. At plus 470, Quan, almost 5-1. I'll take that shot on Joe Mixon to be the first guy to get into the end zone in that Cincinnati-Dallas game.
I hit Mike Evans last week against the
Nice.
Cowboys for first touchdown. So I like friend. Listen, I might tell you on the Joe Mixon touchdown score, because that could, man, I don't see Cooper Rush getting them in the end zone at all. Maybe something, but if they drive them down the field, it'll probably end in the field goal. I think the Bengals defense can clamp down enough. So now back to get wrecked. All respect to those who break their neck to keep their bets in check. I had to get it right this time. The single game parlay, a dime nickel. What do you got for us, Benny?
Yeah, here you go. So this is our favorite part of the show, right? We're trying to help you guys make $1 out of 15 cents here, as the the Tupac song says from back in the day. So I'm going to go with a Indianapolis Colts Jonathan Taylor onslaught here. Jonathan Taylor over 79.5 yards rushing. And then I'm going to take an alternate line on the Colts at -6.5. The line on this game is sitting somewhere at 4. When we did the opening line video at the beginning of the week, I said, like, that line just felt way too light to me. I think the Colts are going to bounce back. I think I think the adjustment was a little bit too much against the Colts for them not playing well against Houston. I think they're going to come out focused. I think they're going to come out and run the ball right down Jacksonville's throat. I think Jonathan Taylor can get in the end zone twice. I think he can get over 80 yards, and I think he can help the Colts win by more than a touchdown. You put all of that stuff together there, the big Jonathan Taylor onslaught game, it's playing plus 575, which means if you bet 15 cents, you would turn that into $1. So you would turn your dime and a nickel into $1 here. I'm going to put probably $50 on this right here, and I think that's going to be something like a $340 payout or so. I'd be pretty happy with that.
I think we all would. Jonathan Taylor last week, 150 rushing yards on 31 attempts and 1 touchdown. Got to double that output for Benny to hit his single game parlay. I like that play. I think the Colts do bounce back. It's a lowly Jaguars team still. I feel like we that a lot.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to score a little more than they did last week against the Texans. So if they can at least score, they double their output a little bit there on offense, I think we're going to get another Jonathan Taylor touchdown. And again, if this game works out the way I'm hoping it works out, they're going to have a big lead late. He's going to be running the ball. Maybe he breaks one for 50 or 60 yards and gets in the end zone for that second time, puts them up 14, and then we don't even have to worry about some backdoor cover screwing this for us.
Offensive coordinators, please work on your 4-minute offense for the love of everything holy. That'll wrap it up for us here at Betting with Benny. To those of you who tuned in on the Game Plus Network, thank you. For those of you who watched on YouTube, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification for more wonderful FTN Network content, for more FTN Network content. I'm Deqwan Young, hosting alongside the man, Benny Ricciardi, here on Betting with Benny.